Warriors and all of that, and Krypton. I got plans for Krypton. I got plans for the New Warrior. I got plans for all this stuff. Just wait.
It's going to be good, man. There's no shortage of shows. We were just talking about that last night, Ronnie. I mean,
yeah, we were.
Man, there's so many comic book shows that you can find, and now it's to a point where I'm having an issue deciding which one to watch. Like The Gifted, I've wanted to watch that. I'm catching up on just everything else.
Yeah, that's the one that fell to the wayside for me because of Runaways. Because I'm just now getting around to Crisis on Earth X.
I still haven't started that yet.
It was excellent.
So far, love it. I'm not caught up on any of my Arrowverse shows, but this is so good. And that first fight scene in the church, oh my gosh.
Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, real quick. I'm just now seeing this. Disney and Fox deal may reportedly be announced in days. When this drops, do we want to do like an impromptu Damn You Hollywood just to talk about this?
I'm down.
It's up to you, man. Yeah. Whatever you got space on the schedule for.
But we'll make space for this. This is important. Hang on.
It will be shaping the way we watch our movies. And it has very big implications, I think, on streaming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's another thing too, because Disney's coming out with their own streaming app, and then I'm scared for where all the Marvel shows are going to go. Like
they're going straight to that Disney app.
Yeah, so I don't want to pay them any more than I have to. And
here's the thing. I think I had read something where the stuff that's already on Netflix, they contractually can't move it off Netflix.
Okay, so that's good. Okay. But that's new stuff though, like new seasons and things like that, do we have to worry about that? Or
I think it's the property that they can't move off Netflix.
Okay, so
here's the thing.
Season 4 or whatever.
They're buying a couple things. One, they're buying the Fox TV and movie assets, which includes the broadcast channel for Fox. So things like The Gifted don't have to move.
Mm-hmm.
They could if they want them to, but they don't have to. I don't know why you would move The Gifted to like ABC, but I guess if they wanted to, they could. But they're gonna own the Fox station, like the Fox broadcast station, as I understood the merits of the deal. The other thing is they own ABC and they own Freeform, which I believe it used to be ABC
and the Free World.
It's getting there, Ronnie.
Googly, stay with me. They own Freeform, and they've already, like I said, the new Warriors show was supposed to be and I think Cloak and Dagger are all supposed to debut on Freeform. So, if anything, and I think that's a free app.
It is.
So I mean, we'll see ultimately where this goes. But the other part of the deal is I think they end up owning a stake in Hulu. I'm almost starting to wonder if it's even worth it for Disney, and I'm wondering if they'll come to this conclusion as well. If it's even worth it for them to have their own streaming service when they're going to own a part of
Hulu.
They have Freeform,
mm-hmm.
and they're already contractually obligated to provide content for Netflix.
The podcast that I listened to this morning said that they would have 60% of shareholding rights in Hulu, I think is what they said. So they would be controlling whatever in that, so you're right, Mark. I mean, why not?
It would be stupid to waste that money.
Why not just use, I don't know. I don't know why. Hulu's already set up. If you can do that, if you could get away with doing that. But the thing is that they wouldn't have total control over that because, it's 60%. Granted, that's a majority share, but I still think that.
I was like, they own two of the major contributors to Hulu with this deal. They own Fox.
Yep.
And they already own ABC.
Mm-hmm.
I think outside of that, CBS has their own stupid app that nobody buys, and then NBC contributes to Hulu.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like I said, it is going to be a huge game changer. I think there's going to be there's going to be effects from this for a very, very long time. And some weird stuff that's going to be like, I don't know. The market and stuff is changing so much. Like, you're going to see, who knows what's going to happen.
You're going to see a lot more independent content come out on things like Hulu and not Hulu, but YouTube and other things. YouTube has its own movie and television show, Hulu Red or whatever it's called, or YouTube Red. Lord, what is wrong with me?
Hulu Red. After dark.
Ooh, gross.
Cinemax.
That's where Harlots needs to be. But you're going to see. I think you're going to see a lot more independent content drop because of this. Because Disney is going to be very picky of who they bring into their little family now, or their big family.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when it happens, we'll talk about it.
Yep. We'll save our discussion for that.
They're going to look at everybody and say, "Why do we need to pay you when we can make our own stuff?"
Mm-hmm. We've got plenty of money.
Well, yeah, we got
all the money in the world.
It's like that AT&T T-Mobile merger that didn't go through, thankfully. Well, not thankfully. Yeah, that's what caused me to lose a lot of my money when I was working there. But they would have, ruled the world at that point.
Oh, wow.
I mean, they already own DirecTV now too, and they were wanting to buy Time Warner, not Time Warner, but Warner, Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have owned HBO. They would have owned Warner Brothers, like movies, all kinds of stuff. And then they, I think it was the government that stepped in and said, no, you own too much already, and so this isn't good. And
I was talking to my dad, and he was like, I don't see how the Trump administration is going to let Disney buy the Fox content, because that's going to create a monopoly. I'm like, but it's not. Yeah, they're buying content. The Fox as a company still exists. And he wanted to argue with me about it. I'm like, no, they literally still exist. They're just doing news and sports, and that's it. Yeah. They're not, they're not doing entertainment television and movies anymore. That's not creating a monopoly. I mean, and there's still plenty of IP out there. Sony and Paramount still own plenty of IP that's available. I mean, I think Sony has like a Masters of the Universe movie slated for the future, and there's the Transformers, the Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe. That's still all out there. It still makes money.
But yeah, you look at who's making the most money.
Oh, Disney.
Oh, absolutely. But
and who?
I'm sorry. Was that a question?
Who has the most cash? I know. Just listening to Damn You Hollywood, I think you guys ran down like what the numbers were for near the year, at least near the year end, and it was insane how much money Disney was bringing in, because they had like most of the top movies of the year. And so if they ever have competition, you know what they're going to do, Ronnie Adams? They're going to buy them.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did they go to the Vince McMahon School of Business?
They're just going to buy them out. All right, give me a second here.
Like, they're not going to buy companies. They're buying IP.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't. I mean, well, Lucasfilm was a small company that only had 2 IPs. It had, Indiana Jones, and it had Star Wars. And then Marvel, kind of the same thing. But with this, they're not buying the Fox company. They're buying the IPs that they have.
They're just buying. It's like
they're buying content.
Yeah, it's like me coming to you, Jesse, and saying, if you own a store, I can buy your entire store and sell it in my store, but that doesn't put you out of business. That just gives you money to purchase more stuff.
I see.
Yeah, you're still operating. In other words, he's buying everything off your shelves, and he's going to resell it in his own store with his own logo on it, but you still physically have the store.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, let me open up this here picture with or cover of the comic book that we're going to be discussing tonight. Can never remember which program to use.
Are you going to introduce us?
No, nope. Just copy paste introductions. I told you last time. You guys don't listen to me. You guys do not listen.
Hey, welcome to Source Material. I'm here with Mark Radulich and Ronnie Adams.
Just have a sound bite and just paste it into the old Audacity.
Mark,
Mark,
how you doing tonight? I added more stuff to the schedule.
Yes, he did.
Then you just hear on mine click.
All right, here we go.
Oh, speaking of which, Ronnie, are you doing a Star Wars show for next week?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we definitely. I got to get what we did last night out, but we will. I mean, we're not missing out. I'm going Thursday night, so we're not missing out on that.
I'm going Thursday as well.
So, I will say this: the Star Wars story. You know what the best part about this was?
Tell me.
Nobody punched Princess Leia in the face.
I don't know. Her Evan or however you pronounce that looked like she was about to.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't one of those things where he's like, no one came up and gave her a left cross and then says, "I think I'm in love with her."
Call back to the original, the Star Wars. Ronnie Adams, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, man. Mark Radulich, we've discussed mergers, or not mergers, just all sorts of fun business stuff. I've been educated tonight. Mark, are you ready to continue educating me on some Star Wars stuff tonight?
Absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
All right.
Education.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Source Material. We're coming at you live here. It is, we're synergizing. We're recording this a little bit early, but we're going to drop it on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. This is going to occur after the release of the most recent Star Wars film, Episode 8, correct?
Yes.
The last Jedi. So we had to figure out a good Star Wars story. There's some in the archives, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to check them out, you can hear me discussing. I had a 2-parter on Dark Empire a long time ago. It was one of my first few episodes that I did. And we also discussed Ronnie Adams just dropping out of the call. Yeah, we had you can go back in the archives. You can check it out right now because he just dropped. But Mark, you're having none of it.
No, I listening to you. I'm sorry.
Ronnie dropped. That was my joke.
I got that. You know what? I'm sorry. I got distracted by the fact that Ministry is actually playing in Orlando in April.
Oh my goodness. Get your tickets.
I'd rather not.
Right now.
So, okay. Yeah. So tonight we're talking Princess Leia. Now, Mark, there's a bevy, my friend, of Marvel Star Wars books out there for you to pick from.
Yeah, every character has their own book. Every single one. And characters that they made up for the comics have their own solo comic. It's fucking ridiculous.
There is I think it's a C-3PO book that's out there, and he has a red arm. That was one of the biggest questions in Marvel Comics. I wouldn't say history, but recent Marvel Comics lore as to why in the world does he have a red arm? I don't know if you guys read any of that or saw any of that, but for some reason that right there was a talking point amongst a lot of podcasts. That what's up with the red arm C-3PO has? But we didn't go with the droids this time.
May I offer a counterpoint?
Sure.
Who gives a shit?
Listen, that red arm is important, my friend.
No, it isn't.
No, what's funny is this is the way they did it. They just C-3PO shows up with a red arm, no explanation, no nothing. I mean, he's just, and people are like, what happened? Until you finally get the backstory, the most anticipated backstory in Star Wars history. Not how does Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc pit? No, see, I know a little bit of something.
Hang on, I have to tell you something.
Oh no,
Jesse.
Okay.
Ice-T is body count is touring with Power Flow.
Ooh, no, really now.
Yeah, in Budapest Park, Budapest.
Good old Power Flow.
Fly me over to Budapest.
They fly
Hell
over,
yeah.
they fly over. That's the wrong
They
band.
fly over, they fly over.
That's Prophets of Rage.
You say I didn't think that was a body count song.
No, sir.
No, body count's in the house. Body count. Body count.
I was gonna say they just say body count a lot.
Yeah, they do.
They do.
All right, sorry, back to this.
So Princess Leia. We chose Princess Leia. Tell me what gravitated you toward this one, Mark Radlich, because this was your choice, my man.
Yeah, this has been 2 years in the making, actually, or maybe a year in the making. I'll tell you why. So Carrie Fisher left the world, I believe it was last year, around the time that Rogue One came out. I'm actually looking it up now. Yeah, she died almost a year ago to the day, December 27th, 2016. And I said at the time, kind of honor her and remember her and do something fun for the release of The Last Jedi, that this year, around the time of The Last Jedi, the book that we would do for that week, for Star Wars week, would be the Princess Leia comic book. So I knew nothing about it. I just knew it existed. And I wanted to do something to kind of remember Carrie Fisher. And Carrie Fisher, of course, as we all know, plays a character on Family Guy. No, played Princess. She does.
Well, yeah,
she did. No, she of course is the role that we all know her in was Princess Leia from the Star Wars movies. So that's what drew me to the comic book.
Okay, all right. Our creative team on tonight's book. We have Mark Waid, the writer. Yes, that Mark Waid. He is a pretty famous Marvel writer here. Let me just bring up the wiki. I'll run down. I think we may have covered something on this podcast before that he wrote. So let me just hop over to the wiki real quick, and I'll run down some of the stuff that he has written. Maybe because the bibliography is not even. There we go. Wow. Okay. The guy has written for DC Comics. He's written for Marvel Comics. I bet you he has got he even wrote some Impact Comics. Ronnie, do you remember any of the Impact Comics when they came out in the early 90s? Wow. And independent-wise, the guys wrote The Fly. The Web. That's right, dude. I think most notably, he had some X-Men to his name. It looks like Onslaught, a lot of Captain America. So when in the Marvel universe, the Amazing Spider-Man. Wow. There's actually some really later later issues of Spider-Man, the Gauntlet, when he was running through when Spider-Man was running through all these supervillains. That came out in 2010. I hopped in right at the end of that after Caleb was born. I can remember that was the first time I'd picked up a comic book in over 10 years off the shelf and bought it. So anyway, yeah. So Mark Waid's a very, very veteran writer for comic books. Now, as for our artist, this is a guy that I think is relatively new. A guy by the name of Terry Dodson. I don't know much about him. The anchor is I assume it is his wife or his sister, one or the other, Rachel Dodson. And Jordi Belair does the colors for this. And I can tell you, Jordi Belair, his name has popped up quite a bit. So as far as colors goes, I think Marvel was putting together a team here that could very well at least get a functional book out. I think that was the very least that these guys could do. I think this is a pretty big winning creative team, in my opinion.
Not to interrupt, but you missed one really important book that Mark Waid has been writing,
and that is
Archie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he took over the new Archie.
The new Archie, which I've been following since issue 1.
Where are they at now? I know it's been over a year, hadn't it?
It has. I'm gonna have to. I just look at the issues. 26.
It's been 26 issues.
Mm-hmm.
That must be coming out like bi-weekly or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
It's actually a really good read.
My goodness, these issues came out in 2015. Is that right? We was looking at I think it was 2015 is what I saw on the old Marvel Wiki. So Princess Leia, the book came out.
I have the trade in front of me, and it says
2015.
First printing was 2015. Yeah.
First print. Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. 20. So that's good. So this came out either right before the first, the first of this new trilogy for Star Wars. I'm curious, does it have the month listed there, Mark? It probably doesn't, does it?
Manufactured between August 28th, 2015 and October 5th, 2015.
Okay, so this is right before The Force Awakens gets released. All right, well, what I'm going to do here is just simple synopsis. We'll break it down 2 issues. Ronnie, I gave you the first 2, talking point. Mark, you got the second 2, and then we'll come in with our final thoughts after issue 5. Before we get started, do you guys have anything you'd like to say?
Nope, let's do it.
All right, rock and roll. Okay, so issues 1 through 2, Princess Leia. Immediately after the events of the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, and by the way, you guys feel free to jump in and say, wait a second, Starcher, you're wrong. Okay. I didn't really I didn't put too much in here that I didn't research, but just in case, I defer to you guys and have no problem with you jumping in and say, roll it back just a second.
Oh, don't worry. It'll happen.
Immediately after the events of the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope, Princess Leia Organa is still dealing with the events that resulted in her home planet Alderaan being destroyed by the Empire, a horrible act which she was forced to witness. Her new mission is to find and reunite the last living people of Alderaan before the Empire sees that they are vanquished. However, with the bounty that's been placed on her head, gallivanting across the galaxy is going to be much harder than it seems. Luckily, she finds a fellow Alderanian by the name of Yvonne. That's about as... We could go with Evan, but there's 2 A's, and Evan sounds like a boy's name, so I'm going to go with Yvonne here.
I just went Evan.
Evan.
I will support you in Yvonne.
I will too.
Yvonne.
Get to the chopper. Luckily,
what is happening?
It's not a tumor. Listen to me now, Yvonne.
Yvonne, we must go to hyperspace. Yvonne.
Oh my
God. Luckily.
Hey, Yvonne, let off some steam.
It's in the pipe. Oh, God. This is such a great movie.
Welcome to the party, Yvonne.
Who are you? I'm the party pooper, Yvonne.
Yvonne, who is your daddy and what does he do?
What's funny is that's all fresh on his mind because
Yvonne,
we just went through.
Yvonne, allow me to break the ice.
What's the name of the band?
Go ahead.
What's the name of the band? We just went through the song titles on the last Metal Hammer of Doom. It's
Austrian Death Machine.
Austrian Death Machine. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And half of the, if not half, or all of the song titles are all Schwarzenegger quotes from movies. So those are fresh in our mind.
That's incredible. I need to listen to them.
Oh, it's great.
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Some good heavy metal.
Fantastic.
It is. All right.
And there's nothing to do with goats.
Thank you.
Not a thing.
Gosh, you and goats.
All right. Luckily, she finds a fellow Alderanian by the name of. How am I supposed to say her name for the rest of Yvonne?
Yvonne.
By the name of Yvonne. who is Yvonne, who is a skilled pilot, just not too fond of the princess.
Yvonne is not too fond.
Oh my gosh.
All right, we've now successfully contributed to the gag reel. Let's go.
Oh, yes, we have. All right, Yvonne, who is a skilled pilot, just not too fond of the princess. Along for the ride is everyone's favorite droid, R2-D2. So in our second issue, the pair head to Naboo. That's a familiar setting if you're familiar with the sequels. Excuse me, prequels. Leia struggles with these feelings that she has, that she, well, the struggle inside that she let her family down and her people down when she was unable to stop her planet from being destroyed. Arriving at Naboo, they meet up with Lord Jun. Okay, now you just look at that mustache and tell me that guy isn't somebody that's going to stab you in the back,
right? I thought the exact same thing. I'm like,
you trust this dude? Come on. But yes, arriving at Naboo, they meet up with Lord Jun, who just happens to know a local club owner who employs an Alderaanian group of musicians named the Melodic Order. Things heat up when the club owner decides to attempt to cash in on Leia's bounty, but is soon thwarted by the leader of the Melodic Order, Paris. Leia returns to Lord Jun and convinces, in quotes, him to give her a luxury cruiser to find more of her people in the galaxy. We end the two issues with the one of the Melodic Order, a girl by the name of Tace, reaching out to her sister, Tula, in order to stay in touch and update her on the day's events. What Tace does not realize is that Tula has now become a member of the Empire. All right, so that's issues 1 and 2. Ronnie Adams, we're diving into the Princess Leia. Now, this is a character, just before you get started here, this is a character that, I've watched the Star Wars movies. She's obviously a very prominent character throughout all of the Star Wars mythology.
Mm-hmm.
But I wondered to myself, was there much more that we could dive into with this character? And Mark Waid's got the writing chops to do something with it. What are you thinking so far?
At first, when I started reading it, I was like, it's a little far fetched for Star Wars. But
now wait. I want to ask you, when you say far fetched, can you explain?
Is it out of character for Princess Leia to do that?
Okay.
It's not to a point, but it's also it's hard to judge just going by who she was in A New Hope. In A New Hope, she had that awful, terrible fake British accent. She was very much a
that she kept losing.
That she kept losing and completely abandoned in Empire. It was like she had this terrible British accent in A New Hope, and then in Empire, she was like, "Hey, Han, what's going on?" But
hey, Han.
Hey, Han, what you doing? But
y'all get over here, Han.
But when you see the character development in Empire and in Jedi, it would be far fetched for the character that's in those two movies to do something like this. So it was just kind of, when you think about that, it was kind of like a little more. It was out of line, really. Like this should have come later. It felt like, but it lines up with her character.
Can
you go for it.
Let me offer this. When we meet Princess Leia, the terrible British accent that she keeps losing aside, she stands up to the biggest murderer in the galaxy.
Right.
And she says to the head of the military, "I could you stink.
You stench when,
Yeah, you stink, and I could have smelled you a galaxy away."
Yeah.
She's pretty spunky.
She is, but there's a difference between spunk and what she does in this comic book.
Is there? Because you also have the situation where the minute she sees Luke, she's like mouthing off to him too. Like, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper? Which, by the way, Family Guy. All right, well, stay here and die, you stuck-up bitch.
Aren't you a little fat for a stormtrooper? All right, well.
But the next, and here's the thing I wanted to draw a big fat circle around, was the rescue. Luke and Han are pinned down. They're firing back at the stormtroopers. They're stuck in the prison hallway, and he just says "fuck it," and grabs a gun, shoots a stormtrooper, and then blows a hole in the wall, and says, "All right, everybody, dive into this hole that we have no idea where it goes or how deep it goes."
She didn't really say that; it was PG. But
do you see what I'm saying? I think
I
it's
get
in
it.
her
She's
character.
she's got some chutzpah.
But what?
Yeah, sure. Did I use it right?
Chutzpah, yes.
It's something like that.
Ivan!
You got the
Why is this man speaking Yiddish? Wow. Yeah, I get what you're saying. And like I said, it's more character development. In the middle of a firefight, it makes more sense for her to grab a gun and shoot a hole in the wall than it does to steal a spaceship and go after and take on the Empire head on.
But let's take it. She wasn't taking the Empire head on.
Well, she basically was. She knew she had a bounty on her head of what, 10 million credits or something like that. In the book, it said 10 million, I think.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but I wouldn't call that. It's not like she stole an X-wing too, and it was like, again, I have to keep referencing Family Guy. Like, I feel like I could take on the whole Empire by myself. Okay, Dax has got this.
Dax has got this. Let's. You hear that?
Hey, Empire, suck it. Boom. Again, it's not like she went at she flew to Coruscant with an X-wing. It was like, I'm gonna kill everybody. That's taking the Empire head on. She didn't face off with the Executioner.
Yeah,
she's going to rescue Alderaanians that are scattered throughout the galaxy so that they don't get lost to time and extinction. That's wholly different.
But she's also got an entire rebellion at her beck and call that she could say, hey, we need to get to people, and I realize that she did that. But I don't know. I mean, it was hard for me to get behind it at first. I think you're missing what I'm saying, but it does fall in line with who she is. So yes, I can see her doing this, but after the first, this directly after the first movie, with all the pomp and circumstance and the fake British accent and the politicking that she does in that movie, it to me, it was at first I was like, but then I got behind it.
Okay.
So
let me add this one thing, and why I'm really stuck on this, and I'm saying this is very much strongly in her character, and I do think that this is something that she would have done at that time. Remember what the initial fight is about in the book. It's, I want to do something. We are busy with this rebellion, this terrorist organization. I want to play a part. I want to do something. I just don't want to be a ceremonial mouthpiece. And the general's like, nope. It's too risky. If you get caught, we're gonna have to spend too many resources trying to get you back. So, she's sort of like a Fabergé egg, which she's not comfortable with. And that's what drives her to do that. I mean, I think had General
was it really that, or was it guilt?
Guilt because
I don't know. See why it can't be both.
Why if she was the character that if she really had all this in her all along, why didn't she die defending Alderaan? That she knew what they were going to do, and she just stood there.
Well, now hold on.
Wait a minute. She's on a space station that has a gun that can destroy a planet.
Yeah,
rip somebody's throat out.
Come on now, Ronnie.
She's like a 5-foot-tall woman in the standing in the same, and she doesn't know she's a Jedi. So she's standing in the same room as the biggest murderer in the galaxy, who's on a space station with a gun that can destroy a planet.
I get it.
The
I
fuck
get
is she
it.
supposed to do? And she even and she does like lunge at Vader. She's just caught. She's like grabbed. They manhandle her. Poor woman.
Well, that was
Bless her heart.
well, one of the things that I, being a casual Star Wars fan, I'll say I'm casual because I enjoy watching Star Wars, especially after Wrath of Khan. And
Shut your mouth.
no, I don't think the character of Leia's, that whole dude. Imagine watching a planet of your own people get destroyed, and they didn't really give her much to go with after that. You didn't give her an opportunity to the character herself in the movies to try and deal with that fact. They didn't give her much other than just, okay, I'm headlong into the rebellion. But I can remember watching these and thinking to myself, man, there is, yep, that happened. All right, what's the next step?
It's really funny because I think it was a Family Guy thing again where Luke is so sad about Obi-Wan, and she's like, "Oh yeah. I just watched a whole planet of people die, but yeah, it's all about you right now."
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, so that's the one thing that I got out of these, when I first started reading, like, oh, okay, well, this gives her a purpose. This is something that as the princess of a planet, or, the princess of Alderaan, Princess Leia has that sense of duty to go and try and bring her people together.
It's also important to know that George Lucas is a terrible director.
Yes. Mark, did you listen? Did you listen to the re-air of the broadcast this morning
I did actually. Yeah,
okay,
I did.
all right. That's why you guys pulled up some good points about how emotionless and robotic our good pal George Lucas is.
Yeah, so it's
There
really
are no bras in space, guys.
no bras. Only
That's
left.
what he told her.
Yes, but here's why I bring that up, because I think we're talking about her characterization and what she would or would not have done in the wake of Alderaan being blown up. There might have been more shown on screen to support the argument that she's a serious, action and adventure oriented heroine if George Lucas were a better writer and director and not a robot hack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we got what we got because people tried to make sense of the nonsense that he shot. But I better, have Lawrence Kasdan been around for the first one and could edit and reshape his vision, I think you would have gotten a better sense of who Princess Leia was. Because I think here's where Ronnie's 100% right, and I'm going to back him up. You do get a better sense of who Leia is in Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. You don't get as much of a good sense as who she is in A New Hope, and that's all in the writing and directing. Again, part of the reason she doesn't have a British accent in Empire and in Jedi is because they were directed, I believe, by Kasdan.
And he said, "That's dumb. Stop it."
Yeah, and he was like, "This is terrible. You're not British. So cut it out." And just directed her performance in Empire is fantastic. Carrie Fisher is amazing in that movie. She doesn't have as much to do in Return of the Jedi, I think, but you still, this is a woman who in Jedi is written to have gone headlong, risking it all to save Han. So it's highly believable she would put herself in harm's way if she believed the cause was right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and before I get to the next couple issues, let's talk about the other significant character in this book, and that's Yvonne.
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 So, Ronnie, what do you think of Yvonne here?
She was good for this. I mean, like she was.
This isn't a character that's ever been around before, right?
No,
this is completely okay.
Completely
right,
new,
sure.
To my knowledge, but she was definitely the yin to Leia's yang. She wasn't. She was caught up in the pomp and circumstance of everything, as I said before, mainly because if she didn't do it, then everything they knew about Alderaan was dead. So she had to treat Princess Leia like a princess. She had to follow her no matter what, because even though she didn't like her, even though she thought she was a coward, for letting her parent, called her the Ice Queen or Ice Princess because she showed no emotion about her parents.
But, and that's funny because those are almost criticisms that we have. Granted, she did show a little bit in there, but she didn't in the movies themselves. It just didn't seem like there was much.
You didn't
much
give a crap in the movie.
So yeah, and maybe that's what Wade's trying to do here, is actually bring some humanity into that horrific act.
Yeah, there was no humanity in it because she was terrified not terrified, but horrified at what happened. But it was like for a brief second, she's like, "Oh no, okay, I'm over it. Let's crack jokes about the short stormtrooper. Let's comfort the kid that I've never met before because the old man died. But never mind that my parents, all my family, and everybody I ever knew,
a planet that I used to live on was destroyed.
An entire planet that I once ruled over, is gone, is nothing but dust."
Yeah. Mark, how about Yvonne? What do you think?
I thought she was a fun character. I thought she, a needed character. Somebody who could temper Leia. I mean, honestly, she's the one trying to make sure Leia doesn't go off half-cocked. I think she's, I thought it was an interesting take because, again, we don't spend a lot of time like blowing up Alderaan in A New Hope really just comes across as a plot point to move the action forward. You never really get the gravity of it. Nobody really deals with it. I mean, even Princess Leia just kind of goes, huh. And then the next thing, and then
oh well,
sigh. And then the next time you see her, she's cracking wise at Luke.
Yeah,
and then we're off and running. So I think it was important to introduce a character who at least you could somewhat use to deal with the gravity of what happened. Her, I like the fact that right from the get-go, she's like, Princess Leia is an ice queen. How could she say so little, practically nothing about what happened to Alderaan and act like it's just business as usual? You bitch. I thought that was very honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I agree. She's a great vehicle to kind of bring in the this atrocity, the impact of this atrocity. I know that Logan agrees with me.
Sorry.
That's all right, man. So yeah, and really there isn't, we have this pair of characters that are going out about to find the rest of their quote unquote family. And that's kind of where we started out. Now we've got the melodic order on the ship. The next stop is heading over to a place. Hold on a second. Get my notes here. A place called what's that? Sullust.
I believe we go to Sullust next.
Yes, the Alderaan Enclave. So, unless you guys have anything else, I'll go ahead and synopsize issues 3 and 4. Ronnie, you good?
I am good.
All right, Mark Radlich.
Yvonne.
I shall proceed. I shall proceed. All right.
Get to the next chapter.
That was a good one. All right, so issues 3 and 4. The princess's next goal is to find the hidden Alderaan Enclave that was on a planet called Sullust. Arriving, Leia realizes that the Enclave's preserver Jura Astain and most of the Enclave themselves distrust Leia and her motives to come here, as they last heard that she was a prisoner of the Empire. This distrust is only strengthened when soon after the arrival of the Empire, as they show up with an invading force of stormtroopers. Yeah, so things aren't going so well in Leia's favor here. Now she's got to deal with the Empire and the Enclave themselves targeting them and Yvonne. So in order to escape, they rely on R2 to get them to safety. As this war is about to break loose, this battle that's about to break loose between the Empire and the Enclave, Leia and Yvonne get out of Dodge. The only place they can reach, though, is below the facility into a lair of beastly rock renders. Now, using these monsters to turn the tide of battle, they turn the tide of battle, giving favor to the Enclave against the stormtroopers. Leia gains the trust of Jorah and the Enclave, but now they must focus on finding the spy that led the Empire to their door. Remember Tace, the one that's been in contact with her sister at the Empire. Now, as their mission continues, the group head back to their ship and meet up with Nien Nunb. Is this the guy from the movies?
Yeah, this is Lando's.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Didn't know if he went by a different name or not. So Nien Nunb. And they get some firepower to use against the Empire from this guy. They also find out that Tace has been the one that was in contact with the Empire unwittingly and unknowingly. Leia accepts her story, much to the chagrin of the leader of the Enclave. And again, the seeds of mistrust have been sown. A plan is to head to a planet now called, now the plan is to head to a planet called Esperion, where Alderaanians have been living there for quite a while. Leia wants them to help join the rebellion and sends Jorah and, is it Uwa? Well,
Yeah.
I could be. Is it? Okay. All
Listen,
right.
Ooh-wee,
all you
ooh-wee, baby, ooh-wee.
No, I don't think that's
Ooh-wee,
no.
baby. Won't you let me take you on a secret?
He's not a member of the Melodic Order.
The thing you have to remember about Star Wars names is you just throw a bunch of consonants and maybe a vowel together,
Or
the other way
bunch
around.
of vowels and then a consonant in the middle.
Maybe a consonant.
Everybody is Polish.
Well, what's strange is, if I remember
What?
correctly, that's good enough.
No, that's not good at all.
I thought in the book, I thought it was Paris.
No, people with Polish last names have like a bunch of consonants and maybe a vowel.
But you can't say that.
Really, that's the worst thing I've said on this podcast.
Oh God, no, Lord.
Challenge him.
Yeah, no.
Not do
By
that.
all
I was gonna
means,
say.
that's not the worst thing you said on this
I was gonna
podcast.
say, it was like, what is it, 2 weeks ago? I said, okay,
No, don't say it again.
Here's your list of Marvel villains: mutants, aliens, and blacks.
Oh my God.
Black Kingpin.
Black Kingpin. Hashtag Baby Darkseid.
Oh my goodness. So,
Get the
okay, now here's the
fuck
thing.
off.
I thought that she made Paris the leader of the Melodic Order that saved her life. I swear that she called her Uwa, but anyway, it's either Paris or Uwa, and Jorah, the one that doesn't trust Leia. She puts them two together and says, hey, why don't you head down to Esperion and try and convince the leader down there that we need his help. And also, maybe since they're the last Alderaanians that I've been able to find, maybe they want to help us find some more and join our cause. So these two go down as emissaries to the planet, but things do not go so well when Jorah has no compunction displaying her disgust with the Esperion leader, who is a result of intermingling between the Alderaan race and the Esperion race. So a plan is now put in place to attempt to lure the Empire to them. That's right. They talk to Tace and convince her to see if she can maybe drop some knowledge to Tula and set a trap, basically. It's a trap. So bring the Empire to Esperion. But it backfires, okay? The Empire now tells them, okay, look, we're tired of your games. This girl's going to die. Tula's going to die, and there's nothing you can do about it unless, and of course, Leia does the self-sacrificing thing and offers herself up for trade at the end of, near the end of issue 4. Now, Leia, as they go down to this desert planet, and the trade is about to go down, all of the sudden, out of almost every corner of space, all these ships just start coming out of hyperspace. and hundreds of ships are now in orbit of Asperion, or no, this desert planet. Why? We don't know, and we're kind of left with a cliffhanger there. So that's issues 3 and 4. The big beats are we have the Empire showing up, the trade where Leia is now almost willingly giving herself over to the Empire in order to save Tasa's sister Tula from getting killed. Also, things on Asperion, the political gambits on Asperion are not going in Leia's favor here to try and get the Asperians to join. And I think that's about it there for issues 3 and 4. Mark, I think I asked you to give us your comment, give us a talking point. What do you got to say?
I was continuing to enjoy the story. It's hard for me to comment on just like the little bits and pieces because I mean I just could have breezed through this all in one shot.
Yeah.
And I like the overall story. I thought, if you're going to give Leia her own, especially, at the time of A New Hope, if you're going to give her own solo story, I thought this was a good one. I thought addressing the idea of what happens to all the Alderaanians on Alderaan when it blew up, or, were they scattered throughout the galaxy, that sort of thing. I thought, Mark Waid did a really good job of giving us something else to learn about as far as what happened between New Hope and Empire, in Leia's story, and giving her own solo adventure. I guess as far as this part of it, I thought it was a weird choice, just because you don't really know anything about. There's not a lot of backstory to Alderaan or why this group of Alderaanians were mixing with the Asperians. So it was like they just sort of throw that at you, and it's sort of the assumption is you're not going to like this character for being prejudiced against race mixing. Okay, but I still need a little bit more than that, Yeah,
Jorah Astane, I think is her name, the one that goes down there, and I called her the leader of the Enclave. She's not. She's like second in command, if I remember right, because she takes Leia to her leader, but regardless, she's pretty influential when it comes to the Enclave and their decisions. But yeah, she was kind of one note. She's almost a villain. Oh, wait a second. She trusts Leia. She's like that political person. What political person are you going to trust? But that's the kind of gist that I got,
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? Jorah, you say no on Jorah, huh?
I thought there was a lot of assumptions made by the writing team on behalf of the audience that's reading this. It's like, yeah, you're going to hate this person because of these reasons without giving a whole lot more back. Like, I think it would have benefited from a little bit more backstory.
Okay.
But other than that, I thought it was fine.
Are there any
I'm trying to think of what stood out in those two issues.
Well, I know one thing that did. All right,
mm-hmm.
And that is R2D2 saving everybody's ass. When R2D2, well, you're like, meh. We gotta. It's the droid saving when he come up with the droid is really the one.
He's the unsung hero of the Star Wars saga.
Did you listen to the Force Awakens podcast of the whole thing, especially the part when I went on a rant?
R2D2.
When I went on a rant about why anyone likes R2D2, I don't understand it, and everyone in the podcast got really, uncomfortable with me.
Like, let him go on his own. Let him say what he's got to say.
Yeah, I was out there on a branch by myself, and boy, was it cold.
Well, R2 saves them. They're in the lair of the rock renders, and they're trying to figure out what to do. They don't know what the next thing is. Yvonne and Leia, they have no idea. What do we do? Here come the beast.
Yvonne has no idea.
Here come the beast. That's all the goofy gag reel is going to be, is just us doing Schwarzenegger impersonations. That's all it is. Like 2 minutes straight.
And call me Princess Yvonne.
But they have no idea what to do next. And then all of a sudden R2 goes off and does his own thing. no prompting whatsoever, and he lures the rock renders out in order to use them against the stormtroopers. So really, they didn't come up with that idea at all. That was all R2-D2, which I thought was pretty interesting.
He's the real hero of the saga.
Okay. All right, Ronnie Adams. I hear what you're saying. So issues 3 and 4, Ronnie Adams, anything you'd like to say before we go to the conclusion?
No, I thought the rock renders were interesting because everybody that lived on that planet lived in fear of them, but Leia knew that they didn't eat flesh. They ate
metal,
metal and rock and everything else. So I'm like, why does she know that? But everybody else is completely ignorant to this fact. But other than that, I mean, like, that's a whatever. Yeah. But if you're going to pick out stuff like that, you're going to be picking forever on comic books. But I thought it was interesting that they did the inherent, like the racism side story with what's her name? Jorah. Because a lot of the extended universe that I used to read that's no longer canon, they don't consider it canon anymore. That was what the Empire was. They allowed no other species in the Empire.
Really?
Yeah. You had to be human or humanoid or whatever. Yeah, you had to be from somewhere that had a human species. There were no Wookiees. There were none of the alien races as we know them were in the Empire. But they did employ them as bounty hunters. But they would not allow them to hold rank.
Wow, that's weird. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. So
the Emperor was apparently like a big racist.
Yeah. So it was really interesting that they brought that into it. It's because there's nothing to prove that different in the new movies.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a clone in the prequels, and then if you look at the Empire in the original trilogy, there was no alien race other than the bounty hunters, and the new movie and new movies. I'm guessing it's going to be the same thing. The New Order. No alien races.
I really feel like a better writer could have done a lot more with the Empire is racist thing. It was like alluded to, referenced here or there, but that's, they don't do a whole lot with it, considering it was in the actual movies.
In the original trilogy, you mean?
In the prequel trilogy.
In the prequel.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because it was the prequel trilogy and it was kind of terrible.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and I'm a Star Wars fan for life, and I will admit that they were not good.
No, they weren't.
But
because George Lucas had nobody there telling him, "No, George, stop
it.
You're terrible."
And if you look at the Star Wars screenplay, which we read the comic book of, it's exactly what he wanted. In the original, not the original, but in the prequel. So there was more of that in the prequel than there was anything else. Lots of politics, lots of yeah.
Gosh, in 1999, I sat down and watched The Phantom Menace, and I was like, "This is so political." Yeah. I have no interest in this movie. How is this Star Wars? And I didn't understand what I was getting into. Oh, wow.
The coolest things that came out of the Phantom Menace were they expounded on the Jedi's powers a little bit more.
Yeah.
Them moving, faster. And you got to see the fight between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. You got to see that 2-on-1 and then 1-on-1. And then you got to see the lightsabers as a stabbing weapon instead of just a slashing weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool. But those were the best things that came out of that movie. But in this, it was really interesting to see that they brought that kind of to the forefront. because in this universe, racism against the alien races was pretty rampant, especially through the Empire.
Give me just a second here, guys. We're going to go to the 5th issue in just a minute. What is up, Colton? What do you need? You can't sleep. Well, go up there. I'll be up there in a second, and I'll tuck you in, okay?
Why
Go
don't you
on
give
back
him
up there.
whiskey? Give him some whiskey.
Go on up there. I'll be up there in a second to tuck you in, okay?
He's
Lay
not
down and
kidding.
watch your shows. I know. You guys are pulling my leg. I ain't giving no 4-year-old whiskey, you crazy boys.
I didn't say to. I just said Mark wasn't kidding. Mark's a degenerate.
He'll give him. He'll definitely sleep if you give him some alcohol.
Get up there and get some sleep. Okay. All right. So, issue 5, our conclusion here. So, like, just pick up where we left off here. Leia's down on the desert planet. The exchange has happened. Tula's now safe. Leia is now back in the hands of the Empire. But just before she steps foot onto the Empire shuttle, Yvonne and Nienub appear, blazing the place with gunfire and rescuing the princess. The remaining force of the Empire Star Destroyer that's in orbit believe they have destroyed the ship that Leia was on, and now turn their sights to Asperion to eliminate what Alderaanians they can find there. Remember, their mission, as according to what Leia believed, was they were going to eliminate and kill the rest of the Alderaanians that were out in the galaxy. So they turn their eyes toward Asperion to lay waste to that planet, basically. However, Leia reaches out to the recently appeared fleet that answered a call to her aid earlier and explains that the Empire is there to wipe out all Alderaanians, and they are most likely targets as well. So as of now, their only option is to fight to try and ensure the survival of Alderaan and put a stop to the Empire's plans. Now, this message is broadcast to the fleet and also to the planet where the Asperion leader watches and finally reconsiders Leia's plea to join them. And they also send up reinforcements to help against the Star Destroyer. The ships come together in a flurry of fire to bring the Star Destroyer to its ultimate destruction. With many Alderaanians reunited after this, the princess's mission has somewhat met its end. Though very rocky at the start, through the journey, Leia and Yvonne become good friends. So much so that Leia left Yvonne somewhat in charge of her people, or that was her intention, as Leia heads back to assist Luke and the rebellion, comfortably knowing she has reunited most of her people from her home world.
Yvonne, you are my friend.
Shake my hand.
Lead the people.
Don't screw this up, Yvonne.
Look, I don't want to come across as saying like I don't like the story. I like the overall story. Okay. It was pretty easy to follow. I thought the story itself was a worthwhile one to tell. My only minor gripe with the overall story is this ending where it's like, well, we invented a character that we're never going to see in the movies, and then she went to go lead the Alderaanians. It's like, all right. It's just like they knew they couldn't use her. I mean, why couldn't she continue to be a pilot? They killed plenty of them between Hoth and there's just so many, this rebellion isn't 5 people. It's a huge it's a huge terrorist organization with a lot of pilots.
Stop why couldn't they terrorists? They're freedom fighters.
They're terrorists. One man's terrorist. You're a terrorist. One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Look how many innocent plumbers and construction workers they killed.
Listen, I'm not getting into the clerks discussion with you.
Why?
Because it's been done
to death,
and you're wrong.
That's that.
They attacked innocent civilians, and
are they really innocent because they knew who they were working for?
Yeah, the established government.
Oh boy,
they were working for a tyrant, and they knew it.
Oh boy.
So
oh boy.
Oh, all right. No, I'm not going to do this with Ronnie. So anyway, so the rebel terrorists, right? There's plenty of them. Why couldn't she just go back to being
calling them terrorists?
Your heroes are evil.
Support the Empire, Ronnie.
I knew you're an Empire guy. Oh,
I am. I'm all for the status quo and keeping order.
well, that's what they want.
We
They
just talked about the Empire being racist, and here Mark
I know. They're all about genetic cleansing, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm
Keep the races pure. Keep the races pure.
Oh my
well,
god!
they must be good. They're in the government. It's the government.
It's the government. All right. All kidding aside. So the rebellion has got plenty of people in it. Mostly suicide bombers. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god! I'm letting it go.
Why couldn't she just go back to being a pilot? I don't like. Well, this isn't that important of a character that they needed to get rid of her somehow. It just seemed like, okay, so Princess Leia is going to go, and this I actually didn't like. So Princess Leia is going to go back to adventuring and leading the rebellion and all of that, as she says. But here you have this useful pilot, this fighter pilot, this somebody who can actually help out in the struggle, and he's like, yeah, go lead my people. No, that's your job, Princess Leia. That's not the job of random pilot 27.
But I mean, okay, so you would rather leave it open-ended? All right, I'm going to go back and be a pilot and never be heard from again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or that's just terrible.
Why do they do? They invented a character for the Darth Vader series called Dr. Aphra, and then they gave Dr. Aphra her own series. Why don't they just do that?
Well, I mean, nobody wants an Yvonne series. Yvonne, you have your own series.
Marvel Comics presents Yvonne.
Right. Nobody wants an Yvonne series. I mean, but
nobody wanted a Dr. Aphra series, but they got that too.
Yeah, but nobody said that was good.
Well, okay, I see both points here, because it would be, number one, you got to end this. You have to end the story somehow on, right, I would assume, a good note. Okay, so I kind of see where you're coming from there, Ronnie.
Hang on, it would have been stronger if Yvonne made that choice by herself.
Okay, that I could see as well, because there is plenty where I would, I could see where I would, if I was a fighter pilot, yeah, so what? I'm a Colton. Leave that be. I'm a.
God damn it, Colton, go to bed.
Oh,
he's down here.
Mark.
The kid's not listening. Are you going back upstairs? Okay, I didn't think so. Anyway, the fact that she's a fighter pilot doesn't make her want to be a politician that much more. Yeah, she holds.
Hang on one second. God damn it, Colton. We're trying to talk about children's comic books here. Stop interrupting us.
Jeez, Mark.
The fact that she's a fighter pilot doesn't make her like the. I wouldn't want to be a politician. If you came to me, yeah, I might fight for your side, but asking me to, okay, go pee, that would be great. I don't want to fight on. Just be careful. I don't want to fight. Just because I want to fight on your side doesn't make me want to be a politician, for sure. So she was like kind of. Here's the thing, her character. And when I say character, I mean Yvonne's, her motivations. She was, at the beginning of this book, very much disapproving of the fact that Leia kind of casually brushed off the fact that Alderaan was destroyed. But she also was very faithful to the customs of Alderaan and the hierarchy that was there. So I think that must be where they were kind of going with it. Like, okay, hey, she's the strongest supporter of what was the hierarchy on Alderaan. So she is apparently the best.
Hardest.
What's that?
She was fighting the hardest. Yvonne was fighting the hardest to keep
the culture alive.
Alive, yes.
There you go. Okay, and Leia saw in her. Well, okay, if if that's the case, then you have, there's nobody else that'd be better to do that.
You have the best interests of our people at heart.
Yes.
So here, you lead them while I go fight.
So Ronnie, I see where you're coming from. Mark, I see where you're coming from too, because what are
they going to do, right? And then later on, 6 months later, Yvonne tragically died in an extreme TIE
It would have
fighter
been great
dogfight.
if she would have turned her down. I think that would have been pretty dang interesting if she would have said, no thanks, I'm not interested.
End.
I think it should have ended with, and a few years later, you see Yvonne getting into her X-wing to take on the second Death Star.
That would have been interesting. I could see Yvonne coming back in the comics, Ronnie. I know you said nobody's screaming for the series, but okay, well, give me just a minute. Okay. Clearly, I am going to need to tend to my son here in a few minutes. So I'm going to leave. I know we're kind of already on final thoughts here, but I'm gonna go up here, tuck him in. I'm gonna turn you guys loose. Ronnie, you got your final thoughts to give. Mark, if you want to continue what you were saying, or you have anything else you want to touch on, go for it. I will be right back.
So I'll go. Final thoughts. It was a fun story. It was cool to see some sort of. It was fun to see Leia interact with other people in the Star Wars universe, other than, I guess you would say the Trinity of the Star Wars universe, which is Han, Leia, and Luke, and how she would react to other people and people dealing with the ice princess that she was when her entire planet died. So that was really cool. I thought that was, a much needed refrain from, the movies of her going, "Oh no, what's for dinner?" So, that was, it was interesting to see that. So, come to life in a comic book. As far as, like I said, at first I felt it was a little out of character, but the more I thought about it, the more I got on board with it and liked it. I agree with some of the points that you all, have. It was just, it didn't feel rushed, but there should have been more backstory to a lot of these characters. But how much can you do in a 5-issue miniseries? Which I understand, but there's not much you can do with just 5 issues. So he did the best that he could, and it was a good read. It was worth the $5.99 that I paid for the trade paperback.
I really liked it. I liked the idea of, shortly after the Battle of Yavin, they're too afraid to let Leia do anything.
Yeah.
And so she sort of takes this mission on herself. But and again, as I said before, I like the fact that she addressed what happened to all my people, the ones that weren't. Because remember, in the Star Wars universe, physics doesn't exist, right? And so people can travel all over the galaxy, like you travel, all over your city. So it would be a natural assumption to assume that her people were scattered throughout the galaxy. Not all of them were killed on Alderaan. Mm-hmm. And so what do you do with them? I thought the character who, the pilot character, Yvonne was a fun character. It was a nice counterbalance to Leia. The rest of the cast, it was kind of meh. Or whatever. But overall, I think, as far as giving that version of Leia something to do shortly after the Battle of Yavin and telling that story was, again, a worthy one and, a fun one to tell. And, in general, I enjoyed the book, and once again, rest in peace, Carrie Fisher.
Absolutely.
All right. Ronnie, did you give her your final thoughts already? You said,
yeah.
Okay. There's nothing world changing or there's nothing that's changing the lore here for Star Wars. It's adding to it. And it's not really, it's not a whole lot, but I think it does a great job. And that may be what a lot of these books are doing, is just giving a better dive into the characters of this universe. Like I said before, it's good to have a story where we're discussing her trying to deal with the fact that her planet and all of her people were pretty much killed in front of her eyes. I would be a mess and a wreck. So that kind of speaks to how strong Princess Leia is. The fact that, okay, well, hey, I need to go do something to at least try and make up for what I feel may have been a personal failure on my part, along with the fact that the rest of my people are in danger that are scattered throughout the galaxy. So it's a fun story. And I really, for some reason, I don't remember if they explained this in the book or not, but I don't think that journey could have ended just with those 3 spots. I mean, she went and got the melodic order. She went and got, maybe that's just like the 3 most concentrated spots of Alderanians, Asperion and the Enclave. But you would think that there's got to be more out there amongst the galaxy. But it just seemed like, well, we only got 5 issues and I got a rebellion to fight. So good for you, Yvonne. Have fun. But
give her a good game and be done with it.
We saved who we could. The rest of you are on your own.
All right, go find a planet.
Go find a planet. Go on it. I enjoyed it though. I think it was a nice little dive into her personal life to see how she was dealing with this and a fun little journey. It isn't anything, like I said, that's going to be turning heads. It isn't no red arm of C-3PO, but it's
well, they're basically, that's what basically they're doing anyway. Every off year of with Rogue One, with the Han Solo movie that's coming out, they're not changing the lore. They're not doing they're not making any huge differences. They're just filling the gaps.
Yes. Yeah. And
So,
I like that. I think this is a great story to do that. All right. Well, with that being said, that's our coverage of Marvel's Princess Leia. Let's go ahead. We'll get into plugs unless you guys have anything else. All right. Let's do plugs. Ronnie Adams.
Your silence says
let's get to it. Ronnie Adams, sir, go ahead and plug some stuff, man.
We have a podcast called Screaming Boy Podcast where we talk about pop culture / nerd culture. We are, for some reason, it didn't release to anything, and I've got to figure out why. But we recently did a show where we talked about the Comic-Cons that we went to: River City Comic Con, Greensboro Comic Con, Fayetteville, and North Carolina Comic Con Bull City. And then last night, which will be released as well here soon, we as we're recording this last night, we did our pretty much a TV episode. What shows that we were watching currently, and just had some fun with that. Talked about Josh Calanders was on with us, and so we talked some about Runaways, the first 5 episodes of Runaways. We talked about Silicon Valley. We talked about Superstore as well, which was kind of a sleeper for me. I didn't get into that until Jesse told me about it, and I absolutely adore that show. I love it, and it's so funny. And then we, with all the content that we've got out, Netflix and then the
Hulu?
network. I'm going for the network sitcoms as well.
Oh, yeah,
and Hulu with their originals. I mean, you'd be crazy if you couldn't find something to watch. So it was a lot of fun talking about it and getting everybody's perspectives on these shows. So that's out as you're listening to this. It's out now. As we're recording that, it will be out soon. As we're recording this, it will be out soon. You can find us on any social media, on Twitter at Screaming Boy PR, on Instagram, Screaming Boy Podcast, and Facebook. Just look us up on Facebook by typing in Screaming Boy Podcast. iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and right here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network.
All right, very good. Mark Radulich, sir. Let's plug some stuff.
Alrighty. If you are listening to this live, tomorrow night is a TV party tonight with Andrew Graham. We're going to be talking about The Crown, Season 1. Season 2 just dropped on Netflix. We're going to talk about Season 1, though, and we will get to Season 2 sometime next year. You know, when we have space on the calendar.
2024?
Yeah.
Yeah, that space is filling up quite quickly for a year in advance. It's amazing.
Yeah. Wednesday, I won't be available, but Jesse Starcher and Robert Cooper will be doing the Metal Hammer of Doom. They're going to check out Obliscaris. The album's called Earn. The following week, the week that this will debut on the Rattleton Broadcasting Network, is Star Wars Week. Star Wars Week all the time. We've got this show discussing Princess Leia. We've got Damn You, Hollywood's review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. We've got the Metal Hammer of Doom review of Galactic Empire's self-titled album, Galactic Empire. And then finally, we cap the whole thing off with an on-trial for The Empire Strikes Back. And, of course, the Screaming Boy podcast will have something on Star Wars as well. Absolutely. So that'll be fun. So go ahead and check that out.
Very good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, go give the Radulich in Broadcasting Network Facebook page to stay up. Give it a like. Stay up on time. Yeah, I tell you to do something with it. Give it something.
Give it here.
Stick it in your butt.
Yvonne, give me the show. Oh, my Arnold Schwarzenegger is terrible.
Listen to the show. Listen to it now.
Yours is much better, sir.
Oh, goodness. Go give the Radulich and Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like.
Give it a like.
Give it a like.
Check out the show on Twitter. Check it on Facebook.
Stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. There are so many podcasts.
Look at our pictures on Instagram.
you can. We do MMA.
Swipe right, swipe left on
Tinder. The podcast network is on Tinder.
Is that the way you like it?
Always swipe. Is it left? Is left the good stuff, or is it swipe right? Swipe left. I don't do. You better swipe left for source material. There you go. Okay, I brought it back some.
You better swipe good.
Swipe good. Doesn't be a swiper. Swiper, no swiping.
Oh my lord.
Okay.
The Radulich Broadcasting Network is not on Grindr.
Oh my god.
It's on Tinder.
All right. So there's just a lot of podcasts that we have. There's MMA, there's wrestling, there are
Damn You, Hollywood.
There's video games.
Is there?
Yes, you can listen to them. There's podcasts about video games. All right, coming up on the Radulich broadcast. Let's go back in time. Go back to last week. Last week, was our discussion? Was it last week or the week before? We did our discussion on Runaways, Volume 1, right?
That was a while ago.
That was our last one. Was that a while ago?
The Punisher. Last week was the Punisher.
Okay. Wow. So yeah,
it wasn't.
No.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Never mind.
Monucci with the ill communication.
Manucci. Manucci's made of spaghetti.
The strangest what if. The strangest what if concept ever belongs to Ronnie Adams, where he totally misunderstood what the hell we were talking about. He just combined two things together. What if Monucci is made of spaghetti? I was like, what? Let's move on. What? No.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting a headache.
I was like, how? How did that happen? So anyway, you'll want to find out that it somehow happened. It's in the gag reel on the Punisher show, which was one of the most. It was probably one of my favorite shows of the year.
Yep.
We got to talk Garth Ennis, Steve Dillon taking the Punisher and to new heights.
It's bears.
It's bears.
It's bears.
Oh wow! So
I punched the bear on Mars.
On Mars.
Oh.
All right. So anyway,
If you want to hear about the Punisher punching the bear,
yes.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. That was probably the most quoted part of that movie for me. For some reason, I've always, anytime the phrase 2 weeks comes up, I immediately go to Total Recall. 2 weeks.
Come on, Cohagen. Give these people air. Come on, Ivan. Give them air.
Give them air.
Lead the people of Alderaan to air.
oh god.
I just want to go. I just want to finish my plugs because we're like, how many? We're like 5 seconds away from ending this show.
Tony Starcher, finish your plugs.
Finish them.
Sweet. Do it now.
Do it now.
Yes. So, Punisher last week. We have this show we just recorded. Now, for Christmas times are coming, ladies and gentlemen. Santa Claus is coming.
Jingle bells. Jingle bells.
No, not Jingle All the Way.
Jingle all the way.
No one likes that movie. Speaking of Star Wars, that had, who was it? A young, who was in that movie that was Star Wars related? Tell me, it wasn't Hayden Christensen, was it? Jingle All the Way. Help me out, guys. Come on.
I've never seen it.
You've never, Ronnie Adams, Jingle All the Way. Who would? Okay, hold on. Ronnie Adams dropped. I bet you. No, I've got to look this up.
Hello.
Jingle All the Way. Who was the kid that was in Star Wars from that?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. I've been cracking up the entire time, and then come to find out you can't hear me.
We put him on mute.
Jake Lloyd.
Shut off, Ronnie Adams.
Jake Lloyd, who complained about being famous.
Yes.
They made my life a living hell.
Jake Lloyd. The kid.
Stop complaining.
You're terrible, Anakin.
So, all I want to do is this one last plug. The 25th of December.
Do it!
Do it
2
now.
weeks. 2 weeks. 2 weeks from the day.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, it's going to be me, the MVP, Patrick Mullen, and Gavin Napier, formerly of the Casual Heroes, will be on this podcast, and we're going to be I found a list. It's 12 comics of Christmas, DC's Comics Best Holiday Specials. This came from Comics Alliance. So what we're going to do is something that we have done on this show before, where we take 3. We're going to do 3 apiece. We could, because something happened where we couldn't find a couple of them, but we're going to take 3 apiece, and we're going to pick our best one and pitch it to each other, see what we think. So check that out. That's going to be happening. DC Comics Holiday Specials coming up. It's going to release Christmas time, right in your ear. That's right. So 2 weeks from today. Other than that, you can follow me at Stiznarkey, and who wouldn't want to? I mean, my goodness. This has clearly been the upper echelon of my podcasting career. And you can also...
I'm trying to hold it in.
Everything I've done up to now stinks.
This is the greatest episode ever.
This is the greatest episode ever. Evan.
All right. Evan. We're out of here. I mean, how am I supposed to end this podcast other than with, ladies and gentlemen, that's Ronnie Adams.
Yeah.
Yep. That is Mark Radulich. My name is, yes, sir. Hello.
I'm Mark.
I'm Mark.
I'm Mark.
Hello, Mark. Give these people air.
Jeez. I think the damn episode is more gag reel than it is actually episode.
You can't do a gag reel. You can't. have no content.
It's like, oh well, this is episode 1 and episode 2 of episode 2 episode. Yeah. So okay, that's Ronnie Adams. That's Mark Radulich. My name's Jesse Starcher. Have a Ivan.